Welcome to the deep dive. We're about to explore something truly foundational, something that might just change how you navigate. Well, everything. Today we're diving deep into a quote from the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space."
That quote really hits you, doesn't it? A space.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's what this deep dive is all about, understanding that space, finding it, and crucially, cultivating it. It's that moment, that pause where you get to choose your response instead of just reacting, reacting to all the challenges life throws your way.
Absolutely. It's a massive concept. Our mission today really is to unpack how we can consciously widen that gap. We're going to draw on some ancient wisdom, mainly from the Stoics, and we'll connect it to more modern insights, especially from Frankl's own logotherapy.
The goal isn't to become emotionless, right? It's not about shutting down.
No, definitely not. It's about shifting gears, moving away from those knee-jerk reactions, the ones you often regret later, towards, let's say, more reasoned, wiser responses. It's all about navigating life's complexities with maybe a bit more inner calm, a clearer sense of purpose. It's about fundamentally changing how you engage with the world around you.
And we've got some fantastic sources lined up. We'll be hearing from the heavy hitters of Stoicism, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius. Their ideas are just, well, remarkably relevant even now.
Thousands of years later, yeah. And we'll also explore Frankl's logotherapy, born from, incredibly tough circumstances. Plus, we'll even look at some older narratives that kind of illustrate these principles in action.
Sounds great. So let's jump in and discover the power hidden in that mental pause. Okay, so if we're talking about creating this space, this mental pause, we really have to start with the bedrock of Stoic thinking. Epictetus called it the dichotomy of control. Some people called it the Stoic fork. Can you break that down? Why is it so fundamental?
It really is the starting point, the absolute first step in Stoic practice. Epictetus put it very clearly. Some things are up to us and others are not up to us. Simple as that on the surface.
Okay, so what falls into the up to us basket?
That's basically everything internal. Our choices, our intentions, our judgments, how we perceive things, anything that happens purely within our own mind. That's our domain.
And then not up to us.
Pretty much everything else. Our body, whether we get sick, our possessions, our reputation, what other people think or say, external events, the weather, politics, all of that is outside our direct control.
It sounds so straightforward when you put it like that. But wow, do we ever live like that? Most of us spend so much energy trying to control things we just can't.
Exactly. And that's the crucial insight. The Stoics pointed out that if you stake your happiness, your peace of mind on things outside your control, you're essentially signing up for a life of frustration and disappointment and, well, suffering.
Your well-being becomes totally dependent on external stuff.
Completely vulnerable. Think about it. If your happiness depends on getting that specific promotion or buying that particular house or even having someone else behave exactly how you want them to, you've handed over your inner peace.
Yeah, you've given the remote control to something or someone else.
Precisely. So the powerful question is, how much of your daily stress, your anxiety, is actually tied to worrying about things you literally cannot influence? What if you really internalize that distinction? Imagine the freedom.
It's a huge shift in perspective, just thinking about it. Didn't Epictetus use an analogy about life being like a play?
He did, yeah. It's a great metaphor. He said, think of yourself as an actor in a play. You didn't choose your part. Maybe you're the star, maybe you're just in the chorus. You don't decide how long the play runs. And you definitely don't control the plot twists.
So what's your job then?
Your job isn't to fight the script or argue with the director. It's simply to play the role you've been given as best you possibly can. With skill, with integrity, within the circumstances you find yourself in.
It pulls your focus away from complaining about the role.
And onto performing it well. It redirects all that wasted energy.
Which loops right back to our theme. Making that distinction, what's mine, what's not, that is the first step in creating the space.
Yeah.
It forces that pause.
It does. It pulls your focus inward, away from the chaos outside, and towards the only things you can control, your perception and your response. It's about reclaiming your inner territory,
Okay, so that's the foundation. What's next? Epictetus also had that famous line, something about judgments.
Oh, yes, another cornerstone. It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about things. This is where the mental pause becomes a really practical tool you can actually use moment to moment.
That idea feels so modern, too, like cognitive therapy, right? They talk about cognitive distancing.
Exactly. It's a core principle in CBT. Cognitive distancing means seeing the gap the separation between your thoughts, your judgments, and actual external reality. Marcus Aurelius talked about it too, separating our value judgments from events. It's like stepping back and watching your own thoughts.
Thinking about thinking.
Yeah, metacognition. Instead of just having the angry thought when someone cuts you off in traffic, you notice, there's the thought that person is a jerk and ruined my commute. You see it as a thought, not as objective reality.
So it's not the traffic jam itself making me furious.
It's your judgment about it. Like, this is terrible, this is unfair, my day is ruined. Those judgments are what fuel the anger.
And the Stoics argued those judgments are often irrational.
Right.
Especially if they're about things we can't control.
Precisely. If you judge something external, like the traffic, as inherently bad, you automatically commit yourself emotionally to wanting to avoid it or change it. But if it's outside your control, that desire, that demand that reality be different is irrational.
It's like demanding the rain stop just because you don't want to get wet.
Exactly. That internal conflict, wanting what you can't have, or demanding reality conform to your wishes, is a major source of emotional suffering. The Stoics believed this deeply.
So applying this means shifting the focus.
Yes. Shift from the uncontrollable event, the traffic, to your controllable judgment about it. You could choose to judge it differently. Okay, this is happening, maybe I can listen to that deep dive I saved. Or just, this is annoying, but it's just traffic.
And that changes the feeling. Instantly.
It can, yeah. It creates that space to choose a different interpretation, a different response.
Okay, but this raises a common question. Does this mean Stoics just want us to suppress everything? Become like unfeeling robots, Seneca's blocks of stone?
The classic misconception, no, not at all. Seneca himself tackles this head on. He makes a really important distinction. He talks about first movements, propethei.
First movements, what are those?
They're the initial involuntary physical reactions, like, jumping when you hear a loud bang, or your heart racing before you give a speech, maybe a flicker of sadness when you hear bad news. These are automatic, physiological.
So they're not emotions in the Stoic sense?
No, not the kind they were concerned about, no. Those first movements are natural. You can't really stop them any more than you can stop blushing sometimes. They're just the body's raw response.
So feeling startled isn't the same as being afraid?
Exactly. The startle is the first movement. It only becomes the full-blown emotion of fear, what the Stoics called pathy, these unhealthy, disruptive emotions, if your mind then adds a judgment.
It's like, oh no, this is dangerous.
Precisely. And then you assent to that judgment, you believe it, and you act on it. Seneca said, fear involves flight, anger involves assault. If you feel that initial jolt, but then assess the situation, realize it's nothing, and don't give in to the impulse to panic or run. That's not the pathy of fear.
So the judgment is the key ingredient that turns a feeling into a potentially harmful passion.
Yes. Anger, for instance, arises from the judgment, I have been wronged, or this is unjust, followed by the assent to that judgment, which then fuels the desire for retaliation or attack.
And the mental pause is where we can intercept that process before the judgment takes root and escalates.
That's exactly it. That's the space. It allows reason to step in before you fully assent to the initial impression and let it become a destructive emotion.
So the goal, apatheia, isn't about feeling nothing.
No, it's about freedom from those unhealthy, irrational passions like intense rage, paralyzing fear, consuming envy. It's not about eliminating all feeling. In fact, achieving apatheia makes room for what they call eupatheia, the good emotions. Things like rational joy, a sense of reverence, well-reasoned caution, even certain kinds of love. These are feelings aligned with reason and virtue.
So instead of flying into a rage, you might feel a reasoned sense of injustice that motivates constructive action.
Precisely, that's the difference. The pause allows you to choose the rational constructive response over the impulsive destructive one.
And didn't Chrysippus, another early Stoic, really emphasize the beliefs are the root cause?
He did. Chrysippus argued very strongly that emotions basically consist of beliefs. He really hammered home the idea that our emotional life is directly tied to what we choose to believe about the world and the events within it.
It really puts the power back in our hands, doesn't it? Or at least in that space between stimulus and response.
Absolutely. It underlines that volitional aspect. If you change your underlying beliefs and judgments, you can fundamentally change your emotional landscape. It makes emotional regulation an achievable skill, not just wishful thinking.
Okay. So, we've got the theory down. Know it's yours. Know it's your judgments. Know you can intercept harmful emotions. Now, how do we actually practice this? How do we build that mental pause muscle? Let's get into the techniques. Marcus Aurelius's view from above always intrigued me.
Ah, yes, a classic Stoic exercise, and very powerful. Marcus, the emperor, would practice mentally zooming out, taking this view from above.
What does that involve exactly?
Imagine looking down on yourself, then your city, your country, the whole Earth, like an astronaut. He wrote about seeing the entire planet as just one point, and the inhabited part as even smaller.
Wow, that really shrinks your personal dramas, doesn't it?
Instantly. It puts everything into perspective. Your anxieties, your frustrations, they suddenly seem less monumental when viewed against the vastness of the cosmos and time. It creates distance, gives you breathing room. It deflates the ego a bit, too.
It forces a pause by changing your scale.
Yeah.
And that ties into accepting fate, right? Which sounds passive, but isn't quite.
Right, it's not resignation. For the Stoics, fate wasn't some arbitrary force. It was more like cause and effect, a chain of causes, or causal determinism. Things happen because of preceding events.
So it's not just that things are out of our control, but that maybe they couldn't have happened any other way.
That's the idea, particularly for someone like Marcus. Accepting this intricate web of causality frees you from railing against reality. You stop wasting energy on what-ifs and if-onlys.
Because those are based on the idea things could have been different.
Exactly. And if they couldn't have been, then agonizing over them is, well, pointless. It frees you up to focus your energy where it matters, on your response right now. They also saw nature, or the universe, which they equated with God or Zeus, as fundamentally rational and ordered. Our job, then, is to align our own individual reason with this larger universal reason. Epictetus said, God gave us the rules. Cherish what's yours, your volition, and don't grasp for what isn't.
So acceptance isn't giving up. It's wisely understanding the nature of reality and focusing on your part within it.
Okay.
Now, what about that slightly darker sounding technique? Premeditatio malorum. Premeditating on bad things.
Yeah, the premeditation of adversities. It sounds morbid, maybe, but it's incredibly practical. Seneca was big on this.
What did he advise specifically?
He basically said, regularly imagine potential hardships. Think about losing your job, getting sick, facing exile, even your own death or the death of loved ones. Keep these possibilities in mind.
Why on earth would you do that? Isn't that just inviting negativity?
Not at all. The purpose isn't to be pessimistic or to attract bad things. It's the opposite. It's to lessen the blow, if or when they actually happen. It's like psychological preparedness training. Seneca knew plenty about adversity himself, losing his son, being exiled, dealing with Nero, ultimately being forced to commit suicide. He understood that the unexpected hits hardest.
So by mentally rehearsing it, you take away the shock factor.
Exactly. You strip away the surprise. It challenges that illogical, often unconscious belief that bad things won't happen to me. Especially inevitable things like loss or death. Why assume you're exempt?
It's like building emotional resilience in advance.
Precisely. You're better prepared to cope. You've already thought through how you might respond, what resources you have. Internally, it prevents that emotional hijacking when things go wrong. And it really connects to what Frankl saw in the camps, doesn't it? That having a sense of future, even just the ability to mentally endure hardship, was key to survival. This preparation helps preserve that inner strength.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And related to preparing for adversity is this idea of actually using it, turning obstacles into fuel.
Yes. This is pure Marcus Aurelius again. Such a powerful concept. He used the metaphor of a fire.
A fire, how does that work?
He said something like, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Obstacles don't stop the fire. They become its fuel. You are that fire.
Wow. So nothing can actually stop you from practicing virtue, from being excellent internally.
That's the core idea. Omida tests inner excellence is always possible. Setbacks, difficulties, frustrations, they aren't roadblocks to virtue. They are opportunities to practice it.
A difficult person is a chance to practice patience. A failure is a chance to practice resilience.
Exactly. Every hindrance becomes raw material for growth. It shifts your whole perspective on problems. They become challenges to rise to, not burdens to complain about.
It's like Epictetus' analogy of the wrestler, right? The trainer pairs you with a tough opponent.
Yes, to make you stronger. To help you become an Olympic champion, as he put it. You can't achieve that without sweat, without struggle. Obstacles reveal your character and build it at the same time.
So the pause here is about reframing. Seeing the obstacle not as a negative, but as an assignment.
A perfectly put assignment. An invitation to exercise your inner strength.
Moving on slightly.
Yeah.
Something I think we all struggle with today is just feeling constantly overwhelmed, busy, distracted. Seneca had a lot to say about this, didn't he? And how it relates to time.
He really did. His insights on busyness are strikingly relevant for our always-on, notification-driven world. He was critical of being preoccupied,
Preoccupied, meaning
meaning your mind is constantly filled with trivial stuff, endless tasks, worries, distractions. He said when we live like this, we lose touch with our inner selves. We're too busy juggling anxieties to focus on what truly matters. He even said, living is the least important activity of the preoccupied man. It's harsh, but think about it, always rushing, but never really present, never really living.
that feeling is so familiar, constantly doing things, but feeling like you're not getting anywhere meaningful or just unable to switch off,
Yeah.
always needing some input.
Yes. Seneca argued, we actually have more than enough time. The issue isn't the quantity of time, but how we use it, or rather how we waste it.
On distractions.
On distractions, on trivial pursuits, on worrying about things outside our control. He warned that this constant mental noise leads to restlessness, an inability to concentrate, a failure to appreciate the present moment. And tragically, he observed, people often only realize the value of their time when it's almost gone. They live as if they're immortal, then die having never truly lived.
So the goal isn't just adding more years to life,
Yeah.
but adding more life to our years by being intentional.
Beautifully put. Enjoy and make full use of each day as it comes, he advised. And this is where the mental pause is essential in daily life. It's the conscious act of choosing where you direct your attention.
Stopping yourself from just automatically scrolling or reacting to every notification.
Yes. Preventing your precious time and attention from being frittered away on things that don't ultimately matter. It's about reclaiming moments, being present, engaging meaningfully. It's the deliberate pause that lets you savor life, not just rush through it.
Understanding these Stoic ideas is one thing, but seeing them or the lack of them play out in real situations, especially high-stakes ones,
Yeah.
that really brings it home. Our sources give us some powerful stories, don't they? Starting with some biblical narratives.
They really do. These ancient stories are full of moments where a pause, or the failure to pause, changes everything. Take Abraham and Hagar. It's such a raw human story.
Sarah demands he send Hagar and Ishmael away.
Yeah.
Right? His own son.
Exactly. And the text says Abraham was terribly upset. You can feel his anguish. He's facing an incredibly painful decision, driven by Sarah's demand, but cutting right to his heart. It's a moment of pure emotional distress.
A perfect setup for an impulsive, emotionally driven reaction.
Totally. But then God steps in, tells him essentially, don't be upset. Do what Sarah says. I have a plan for Ishmael too. It provides this larger perspective, a divine reassurance that overrides his immediate pain.
It's like a divinely mandated mental pause.
It really is. It gives her space to act not just from his personal sorrow, but from a place of trust in a larger plan. It guides his action, difficult as it was, and prevents a decision made purely out of grief or anger.
And then there's King Rehoboam, Solomon's son. His story shows the wisdom of pausing, almost in reverse.
Yes, a really stark example. Rehoboam faces a rebellion from the northern tribes. His first instinct, power play, assert authority. He gathers this huge army, 180,000 men, to fight his own relatives and force them back into line.
He's ready for civil war.
Literally on the brink. Imagine the bloodshed. But then God sends a message through the prophet Shemaiah. Don't do this. Go home. This is my plan.
And Rehoboam actually listens.
He does. The text says they listened to the Lord's word and went back home. That pause, compelled by divine instruction, averted a catastrophe. It allowed wisdom to overcome the impulsive drive for power and revenge.
These stories also show the flip side, don't they? What happens when leaders don't pause, when they ignore wisdom?
Oh, absolutely. Look at kings like Manasseh, Jehoiachin, Zedekiah. The narrative repeats. They did what was evil in the Lord's eyes. Manasseh filled Jerusalem with innocent blood through idolatry and violence.
A complete failure to pause and consider the moral implications.
Totally. And Jehoiachin and Zedekiah, they rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, despite warnings and likely solemn oaths. These seem like impulsive, prideful decisions, ignoring the geopolitical reality and sound counsel.
And the consequences were devastating.
Catastrophic. The destruction of Jerusalem, the temple razed, the people exiled. It's portrayed as the direct result of failing to pause, failing to heed wisdom, failing to align their actions with principles, or even just good sense. Choices made without that crucial space.
Even everyday ancient laws seem designed to encourage this pause, pushing people beyond pure self-interest.
That's a great point. Think about the laws for harvesting. Don't harvest right to the edge of your field. Leave some for the poor and the immigrant.
That requires a conscious choice, right? To stop, to think beyond maximizing your own gain.
Exactly. It's not the instinctive thing to do. Similarly, The commands against worshiping other gods, demanding the active destruction of idols that requires going against the cultural grain, making a deliberate choice based on principle, not just convenience or fitting in. It implies that mental pause. What is the right thing to do here, according to my values or laws?
Okay, let's shift from sacred text to classical history. Cato the Younger, he seems like the ultimate example of sticking to principles, almost painfully so.
Cato is legendary, a
Yeah.
true Stoic icon. His commitment to the Roman Republic was just absolute. As Caesar rose to power, others compromised. Even Cicero, a brilliant philosopher himself, eventually kind of made peace with Caesar's rule.
But not Cato.
Never. He saw Caesar as a tyrant destroying the republic he cherished. He refused to bend, refused to compromise his principles. Ultimately, he chose suicide rather than live under Caesar's authority.
An extreme choice, but a deeply considered one.
Absolutely. It wasn't impulsive. It was the culmination of a life lived according to unwavering principle. A profound, if tragic, example of pausing to weigh values against survival and choosing integrity as he saw it.
We see a similar, maybe less extreme, but equally courageous, stand with Helvidius Priscus.
Yes, Epictetus tells his story. Helvidius was a Stoic senator under Emperor Vespasian. He saw Vespasian acting tyrannically, undermining the Senate's authority.
And he spoke out.
Repeatedly. He refused to be silenced even when warned. He insisted on defending the Senate's rights, standing up to the emperor directly. It cost him his life. He was executed.
Again, that pause wasn't about inaction, but about choosing principled action despite the danger.
Exactly. He paused, assessed the situation according to his Stoic duties and principles, and chose integrity over safety. He acted from reasoned conviction, not fear.
And what about Fabricius and Pyrrhus? That story shows incredible integrity, even towards an enemy.
It's a remarkable story. Fabricius, a Roman consul, is at war with Pyrrhus, a Greek king. Fabricius gets a secret offer from Pyrrhus's own doctor. "I'll poison the king for you, end the war. Just give me a reward."
A tempting offer in wartime, a quick win.
Very tempting. But Fabricius is appalled by the treachery. He immediately pauses, considers the ethics, and sends a warning to Pyrrhus. He exposes the plot.
He warned his enemy.
Yes. He wrote something like, "We're telling you this not out of favor, but so our victory isn't tainted by treachery, as if we couldn't win by force." He refused to win dishonorably. That's a powerful mental pause, choosing ethics over expediency, even against an enemy.
Finally, you mentioned Lycurgus and the Spartan Senate building a pause into the system itself.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Lycurgus, Sparta's legendary lawgiver, didn't just rely on individual virtue. He built a structure for deliberation right into the government, the Gerousia, the Council of Elders.
That was its function.
It acted as a stabilizing force, a central weight, as Plato put it. It was meant to balance the power of the two Spartan kings, preventing tyranny, and the power of the popular assembly, preventing mob rule.
So it forced deliberation, slowed things down.
Exactly. This council of 28 elders, elected for life, provided a crucial layer of review and debate. It institutionalized a pause, ensuring that major decisions weren't made impulsively by the kings or swayed by the passions of the crowd. It embedded thoughtful consideration into the very fabric of Spartan governance.
Okay, so we've traced this idea of the mental pause from ancient Stoics through historical examples. Now let's bring it into the 20th century with Viktor Frankl and logotherapy. His work feels deeply connected but comes from such a different, harrowing context.
It really does. Frankl saw logotherapy not as radically new, but as a way to, as he put it, rehumanize psychiatry. He felt that the search for meaning, this core human drive, had been neglected.
And his own experiences were, well, beyond extreme.
Absolutely. As a psychiatrist who survived 4 Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz, his understanding of suffering, resilience, and meaning wasn't just theoretical. It was forged in the absolute depths of human experience. He saw what helped people endure the unendurable.
And what was it? What did he see as the key?
Meaning, unequivocally. He observed that meaning was a source of unbelievable levels of resilience. Even in the camps, those who held on to some sense of purpose, maybe a loved one to reunite with, unfinished work, or just the will to bear witness, had a much greater chance of surviving, not just physically, but spiritually.
So meaning wasn't just a nice idea, it was a lifeline.
A lifeline. It wasn't abstract philosophy, it was something concrete, something you lived, discovered, experienced, chosen in the face of horrific circumstances. That commitment to meaning is the ultimate expression of that space between stimulus and response. It's choosing your attitude, your why, even when everything else is stripped away. It's saying yes to life in spite of everything.
So how does logotherapy help people find that meaning? cultivate that pause, especially when they're overwhelmed by anxiety or suffering? What are the tools?
One really interesting technique is paradoxical intention. It's especially good for anticipatory anxiety, when the fear of something happening actually makes it more likely to happen.
Like fearing you'll blush makes you blush,
Yeah,
or feeling a panic attack triggers one.
exactly that kind of cycle. With paradoxical intention, you actually lean into the fear. The therapist encourages the client, maybe even with humor, to try to make the feared thing happen.
And try to have a panic attack. Seriously.
Seriously. Or you try to blush as much as possible, or tremble if you fear trembling. By intentionally wishing for the symptom, you break the fearful avoidance cycle, you create distance, you're no longer fighting it, you're almost mocking it.
It sounds completely counterintuitive.
It is, but that's why it works. It injects choice and even absurdity into the fear loop. You take back control by paradoxically inviting the thing you dread. It creates that crucial space between the feeling and your reaction to it.
Okay, wow. What about people who are just stuck in their own heads, obsessing over symptoms or problems?
For that, Frankl developed de-reflection. This is about shifting focus. People suffering from anxiety, depression, or even physical ailments can become hyper-focused inward, constantly monitoring themselves, analyzing every little sensation or negative thought.
Stuck in a loop of self-observation.
Right. De-reflection gently guides the client to turn their attention outward, away from the symptoms, away from the self, and towards something meaningful outside themselves.
Like what?
It could be engaging in a meaningful task, focusing on a relationship, pursuing a hobby, helping someone else. If someone with insomnia is obsessed with trying to sleep, de-reflection might encourage them to get up and read something engaging, shifting focus away from the struggle.
So you detach from the symptom by engaging with purpose elsewhere.
Exactly. You stop feeding the obsession with attention. It creates that mental pause from the self-absorption, allowing you to choose engagement with life rather than being trapped by the condition.
There's also a technique from Elizabeth Lucas, Frankl's student, the appealing technique.
Yes, Lucas added this lovely, compassionate approach. It's particularly helpful when someone feels completely stuck, maybe deep depression, addiction, apathy, where their sense of freedom and meaning feels totally gone.
We feel like they can't choose.
Right. The therapist first validates that feeling, acknowledges their subjective experience of being blocked, but then they gently but firmly appeal to the person's underlying, maybe dormant, meaning orientation. That inherent human capacity for purpose and responsibility that Frankl believed was indestructible.
So it's like saying, I see you feel stuck, but I also see this deeper potential in you.
Pretty much. It's an invitation to connect with that potential, maybe through very small, self-chosen tasks. It appeals to their dignity, reminding them that the capacity for meaning, the space for choice, still exists, even if it's buried under the current struggle.
It really seems like Frankl consistently brings it all back to choice and responsibility no matter what.
He really does. That's central. He believed every situation in life presents us with a question, a demand. And we have to answer either by doing something, changing something, or, if we can't change the situation, by choosing our attitude towards it.
That inner freedom.
That ultimate freedom, the freedom to choose your response, your stance, your perspective, that, he argued, can never be taken away. It resides in that space.
And sometimes finding meaning requires a kind of leap of faith, especially when things seem utterly meaningless.
Yes, he talked about this, drawing on Kierkegaard. Sometimes, especially in the face of profound suffering or existential doubt, we have to make a conscious choice to believe that life holds meaning, even if we can't fully grasp it in that moment.
Believing in meaning beyond our current understanding.
Exactly. It's choosing hope. Frankl knew from the camps that losing faith in the future was devastating. This leap is an act of profound mental pausing, choosing a meaning-oriented stance even when evidence seems scarce. It anchors you, allows you to keep moving forward, keep making meaningful choices in the present. Hashtag outro.
Wow, what a journey through this idea of the mental pause. We started with Epictetus, nailing down that crucial difference between what's in our control, our judgments, our choices, and what's not.
Right. Realizing our power lies within that internal space. Then we explored Seneca's practical tools facing adversity head-on with premeditation, valuing our time like the precious resource it is.
And Marcus Aurelius, urging us to take that view from above, get perspective, and see obstacles not as blocks, but as fuel for our inner fire, our virtue.
Yeah, turning problems into opportunities for growth. And then bridging to Frankl, seeing how finding and choosing meaning, even in the darkest times, is the ultimate expression of that space between stimulus and response. Techniques like paradoxical intention and dereflection help us create that space practically.
It's clear, whether from ancient philosophy or modern psychology, that this space isn't just some abstract concept. It's real, it's practical. It's where we cultivate wisdom, build resilience, and ultimately shape a life of meaning.
It really is the birthplace of our freedom, isn't it? The place where we stop being puppets of circumstance and start becoming authors of our responses.
So as you, our listener, go forward from here, maybe take a moment to reflect. How often do you find yourself just reacting on autopilot? How often do you consciously access that space before responding?
And maybe ask yourself, are there any judgments you're holding on to right now that are keeping you stuck, preventing you from engaging fully with this present moment?
And thinking about everything we've explored today, from Stoic acceptance to finding meaning, what's maybe one small concrete choice you can make starting today to intentionally cultivate your mental pause, to widen that vital space just a little bit more.